My good buddy, John, a priest who is now retired, sent me a birthday present. It's this lovely little plaque, and it has a lovely slogan. It says, "Friends will help you up when you fall, but best friends will push you back down and laugh." I got all choked up. He's a funny man. Well, over the past few weeks, we have been hearing readings from the book of Job. Job is a fascinating book. It's part of a genre called wisdom literature. The book of Job wrestles with the problem of suffering. If God is all-powerful and God is all good, why is there so much suffering? In the story, Job is a wise man and a rich man and a good man and a fortunate man. But then the world crashes in on him. All at once, his grown-up children are killed. He loses all his worldly goods to theft by his enemies, and he comes down with an awful case of leprosy. Obviously, Job is in agony. Now, Job's wife is still around, and he has 4 friends left. Unfortunately, they are like the friend on that silly plaque I got for my birthday. Job's wife tells him to curse God and die, which Job refuses to do. But Job's friends are even worse. They come to explain to Job why he is suffering like this. Job's friends tell him that if bad things happen, it's because you deserve it. Job says they are full of prunes. He has done nothing wrong to deserve all this horrific suffering. But his friends stick to their story. Job must have done something wrong, even if he has forgotten what. And that's why he deserves all this pain. One of the friends even adds the comforting insight that the death of his children and the loss of all his wealth and this terrible illness is all part of God's way of making Job a better person. All Job wants is for God to hear his complaint. Eventually, God does show up to hear Job. Unfortunately, God does not give an answer to the question of why this terrible suffering has come to Job. But God does agree with Job that these friends of his are full of, prunes. God says they have not spoken the truth, and they have not spoken wisely as Job has done. But still, God gives Job no answer. Maybe there is no answer. Now, I am not in Job's league as far as suffering goes, but I have known a little bit of Job's kind of pain. The saddest, the hardest thing in my life is my daughter's disability. My child, my adult child, can never live on her own. She can never even be left unattended for any period of time. She'll never drive a car. She'll never hold a job. She'll never get married. She's very limited in what she can understand. Now, she has a happy life and a safe life, and my wife and I are so grateful for that. But we do agonize over her limitations and what her far future will be like. Job's friends have shown up to talk to me, too. We have had people, well-meaning people, tell us why our daughter is disabled. People have told us what God intended by allowing our daughter to suffer in this way. People have given us a wide range of answers, explaining God to us and explaining our daughter to us. Let me give you a little advice. Don't explain someone's suffering to them. It is not your job. It is arrogant, and you are almost certainly wrong. I do understand why people do this. And I do understand why Job's friends did this. We want the world to make sense. We want there to be a reason. And we certainly want God to keep us and those we love from such terrible suffering. If we can answer that question, why is this pain here, we think it will be easier. I understand that, I really do, but I disagree. If I got the answer about why my daughter is the way she is, so what? I don't need an answer. It's not going to change anything. So what do I need? I need a friend. A real friend. A friend who's not going to push me down and laugh and tell me why I deserve this suffering. You know that old hymn, what a friend we have in Jesus. The gospel, the good news says that Jesus is one of us, and in becoming one of us, he suffered, and in his sufferings, he experiences our sufferings. So there's one friend. But I also need Job's friends, believe it or not. Job's friends messed up, and they messed up big time when they decided to explain Job's suffering to him. Even God said they messed up big time. But if you read the entire book of Job, you'll see that Job's friends did get one thing right. They were really great at first. When all of Job's adult children were killed, and when Job lost all his worldly goods, and when Job came down with that painful, painful disease, his friends came to be with him. They sat with him for 7 days. And for 7 days, they said nothing. They did not explain. They were just with him. They did not rationalize. They were just with him. They did not try to teach theology. They were just with him. They sat with their friend in his pain. And that's the best thing they did. That's the best thing we ever do. When someone is suffering, whether through a terrible, painful illness or the loss of someone they love, the best thing we can do is to show up. We don't have to say anything more than this. I don't know what to say, but I really care about you. When I'm in pain, I don't need answers. I need companionship. I need compassion. I need love. Besides, no one has the ultimate answer anyway. God refused to give a real answer to Job. In the face of ultimate mystery, we know almost nothing. Except we do know that love is what gets us through. Love is what gets us through. A week or so ago, my wife pointed out a local news story that she told me gave her a lot of hope for the future. It's a story about the playground across the street at that school over there, right near St. Mark's. Now, a few weeks ago, young Eric Lane and I took the middle school kids of St. Mark's after we ate some pizza across the street to play on that playground. I had a great time running around with them. That's not something we grown-ups get to do very often, but it was a blast. I saw a new red bench on this playground, but I didn't pay attention to it. But it was in this local news story. It's a buddy bench. Some Girl Scouts thought it would be a good thing. One of them remembered a buddy bench from her old school. So now the Chenango Bridge school across the street has one. If a child is feeling lonely or sad, the child can go and sit on that bench. And pretty soon, another kid or two will come over and say, "Hey, you want to play with us?" Several of the kids in the news clip talked about going to sit on that bench and how much it meant to them when other kids came to include them. One girl said, "My friends were not being very nice, and I went over there on the bench, and some other kids were like, 'Are you okay? You can hang out with us.'" Another child said, "Sometimes I get lonely, so I come here to sit and wait, and most of the time a lot of people are here." Isn't that a great story? And it's from right across the street, too. Well, let's bring it to this side of the street as well. The church can be a buddy bench. At church, we can find a friend. And at church, we can find strength and love to get us through hard times. It does not take having all the answers. All it takes is showing up and showing compassion and showing care. So, be a buddy. Amen.